Third time's a charm, and I think we finally perfected it. Today, we are making a serving tray that my wife asked for Christmas. Check it. And this video is brought to us by Squarespace. I don't often revisit past projects, and there are a couple of reasons for that. First, I assume wrongly that everybody's already seen my old videos and wouldn't want to watch me remake something. Clearly, that's not true. And second, once I've built something, I'm usually ready to move on to the next idea. But today, I'm breaking my own rules and remaking something for the third time. The first version of this project was for my kitchen tools book. I don't even have the original pieces anymore. No idea where they ended up. Maybe the publisher stashed them in a locker, burnt them, or gave them away. Honestly, I've never asked because I don't get too attached to my past work. Why? Because I'm a woodworker and my superpower is the ability to recreate anything when I need to. The second time I made the serving tray, it ended up being too small for our plates, so we gave it away. And now for the third and final time, I'm remaking the serving tray. I'm sticking to the original plans from my book, but tweaking it to be slightly bigger, slightly cooler, and hopefully just right. My career has taken many left turns. I went to school for graphic design, and that's what I thought I would be at this age. But since then, I've been a photographer, an audio engineer, a web developer, and videographer. We'll save the story for that crazy path another time. But getting back to being a graphic designer, even though that's not what I do anymore, I still have a passion for good layout, design, and graphic patterns. And that is how I'm going to make this serving tray a little bit more cool. So I drew up this pattern in Adobe Illustrator that's going to use 3 different species of veneer: maple, walnut, and cherry. And I'm going to cut out those veneers on this laser from a brand new American company called One Laser. This particular laser doesn't use a glass tube, it uses an RF tube, and this blows my mind. I cut out this circle and it fits back in the piece there. Look at that. I am not used to having a curve that tiny. That is insane. One of my favorite ways to use lasers is for marquetry veneer, and this new laser is going to really tighten up the fit of my pieces. So let's cut this pattern out on the new One Laser. So all of the pieces get assembled just like a puzzle, and this veneer will get glued onto a piece of plywood. And in order to keep that thin plywood from warping, I'm veneering both sides. I think out of all the tools that I got over the last few years, the one that has made a significant impact on my creativity is my vacuum press. It's basically a big clamp that allows me to get creative with veneers and curved pieces. The vacuum I'm using is a bit on the pricey side, but it auto cycles on and off to keep pressure, which means I can turn it on and walk away for hours knowing it doesn't need to run the whole time. There are other forms of vacuum presses that is much cheaper, and I've got a video on comparing 3 methods. Somebody recently asked me, if wood glue does not dry in the bottle that it comes in, how does it dry in a vacuum bag? And I couldn't answer that question. And I never looked it up because I like certain things to be a mystery. I like not knowing things because it just makes it more magical. The veneered plywood is going to fit into a groove into the frame pieces I cut earlier, and this groove is cut right down the middle so I can make a pass, flip the piece around, and make another pass, which perfectly places the dado in the center. The two end pieces of the frame I'm going to take over to my little bandsaw and cut out what will be the handle for this tray, and I'm deviating slightly from what I made in the book just to change it up a little bit. On this little bandsaw, I only use one blade. It's a 3/16 4 TPI skip tooth blade, and I've gotten it from the same source over the last 8 years. And this is a blade that I recommend to everybody. But for some reason, lately these blades have been breaking on me, right at the weld. And I barely even touched the blade, and it broke. I've been doing this for a while, and I can assure you that I have the proper tension. I'm not sure what has changed. If my favorite clamping method is using the vacuum press, my second favorite clamping method is using this green tape. It's got a little stretch to it and it's strong enough to not break. The tape dispenser that I'm using is the most luxurious item I own, and I love it. So in the book, I reinforced the miter corners with splines. I'm not going to do that here because I'm about to pour epoxy inside, which will be plenty strong to keep this thing together for the rest of our lives. And then some. From here on out, I'm following the directions exactly as they're written in the book. The legs are pretty simple and they fold up into the serving tray so it can be used as a breakfast and bed table or just a way to carry food from the kitchen to the dining room. Although I can't remember the last time we ate in the dining room, as we usually eat in the living room watching our favorite show. Everything is made out of solid cherry and the legs are connected to each other using a cherry dowel that I got from my favorite drug dealer, which is KenCraft. They have an awesome selection of hardwood dowels, and unlike the dowels that you'll find at the hardware store, they're actually the size that they claim to be. What a concept. I'm using connecting bolts and connecting cap nuts to attach the legs to the table. And if you get them to the perfect length, you create just enough friction where the legs stay in place when folded up. To do that, I buy the bolts a little too long and then grind them down to the perfect length. And if you don't have a bench grinder, you could always use a hacksaw like I did in the book. I made quite the mistake when pouring the epoxy, and I'm going to fix that here shortly. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce to you today's sponsor, and that is Squarespace. You might know Squarespace as a place to build and host your website, but it is so much more than that. If you've ever thought about turning your expertise into a course, Squarespace has the tools to help you create and sell your own online courses. With customizable layouts, you can upload your videos, build engaging lessons, and even set up subscriptions or one-time fees. It's never been more simple to grow your business and connect with your audience. I also use Squarespace to manage my inventory as well as my eBlast provider. I've been using Squarespace for over 10 years, way before they were a sponsor, because it makes my business so much smoother to run. And Squarespace now makes it easy to manage payments and invoicing all from one place. Whether you're selling products or services, it can handle everything for you. Like I said, I've been using Squarespace for a long time, and I can honestly say it keeps getting better and better. They take care of all the technical stuff so you can focus on your ideas and creativity. So visit squarespace.com. And when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, let's finish up the serving tray. I got some bubbles in my epoxy because I believe there was air trap between the pieces of veneer, and it was poured at the right depth where as those bubbles were coming up to the top, it hardened. So I'm sanding everything down and pouring another coat. And the reason I'm sanding it down is so that second coat will adhere to the first coat. I took everything back apart and finished it with my favorite finish, and this time assembled it, adding a little bit of thread lock on the bolt. You can get the book down in the link below. I will provide plans to my Patreon members, and if you want to be part of that awesome community with all kinds of perks, that link is also down below. Nothing is more satisfying than making something that's going to get a lot of views. That is going to wrap it up. I hope you have a great holiday season, and here's to an amazing 2025 ahead of us. Cheers. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something. That was a good boom, boom, boom. Oh, that smells so good. Love you.